Hi guys, I'm coming to you from a wet, dark, dreary place, and last week it was hot and scorching and I couldn't be bothered with One Book July. Oh yes, so what a difference a week makes, not just in weather but also your outlook and how you feel about stuff. And I think that is one of life's little fascinations for me, how people change and their thought processes and everything like that. So yeah. But where is this going? Yeah, sometimes I sit down to film with a very clear idea in my head of what I want to say. Other times I sit down to film and I'm in my room on my own with my camera and I'm like, I don't know what to say. Yeah, so on last week's video I did lots of little snippets and thoughts that were taken over the whole week every time I had a thought, and I very much intended to do that again for this week, only I don't know, every time I kind of thought about doing a little update, I never quite got around to doing it. I did however keep some notes though, so I kind of know a bit more about how I was feeling and all of that kind of stuff. But yeah, as I said, what a difference a week can make, and I've had ups and downs with it and all that kind of stuff. So as you guys know, my book of choice was The Happiness Planner by Brand Mentalist, and you can watch my other videos on that if you want to know kind of like how and why I chose this particular book for my one book. So how's it going for me? And as I said, I've made some notes. I've got notes on a little post-it tucked in here, and also some notes on an envelope that I picked up and just wrote on. So far things are going okay, and last week I had a bit more of a troubled week, and then I watched Vicky's video, and I watched Romney's video again, and Marianne Kensington's video from A Pocket Full of Vintage, and they kind of all helped me to feel a bit better about things. It's definitely a learning curve. Okay, so I use many planners and many journals because I enjoy it, mainly, and also I feel that my life works better in different compartments as well, to a certain extent. And other stuff I need to all together, and some stuff I need separated out. And for a long time I've wanted to kind of do like a one book thing, because I have been following Susie Blue's Paint and Chronicle series since she started it, and I watch every week. She's on a break at the moment, but I watch every week, and I'm always massively inspired by her having everything in the one book. And I've never got around to doing it, and I've always had some concerns about it, and now I'm doing a version of a one book. I can see where those concerns have come from, and that they are kind of still prevalent now. Okay, so the thing with using a dated book is that if you want to do more than what's in here, like, you know, I've got a 2-page spread per day. If I want to do more than that, I can't, because it's dated for the next day. And my only other option is tip-ins, but basically you're kind of restricted to 2 days. However, if it's, you know, so if you're restricted, you've got so much you want to write or say or do, that can be quite restrictive. On the other hand, there are some days when I don't journal, or don't have much to say, or don't have much going on, and then there's loads of kind of white space around. So that can be both a pro and con in its own way, using a dated book. I I've often thought about using a just any old sketchbook, notebook, that kind of thing, and I often can't work out in my head the layout that I would want to do. I can't kind of get my head around where I would put my diary section and where I would put my journal section, and I often think, okay, what if I didn't leave enough space for journaling? And this making so much sense in my head, but I'm trying to articulate it in a way that I can make it understood. So the way I envisage a one book kind of concept is having my weekly or daily planner and then the page after that is like journaling. And one thing that I have very much missed in my one book July is having like future planning in my book. There are some things I know already that are going on at the end of the year, but for example my one book only has 100 days in it, and I've already used some. So one of the things I'm struggling with in terms of a one book concept is future planning. And do you set your book up with you know, your weekly planner diary pages, and then do you leave 7 pages in between for your journaling, and then a diary and stuff? So is this making sense, Anna? I don't know, it's making perfect sense in my head. But then if you're not journaling so 7 days, you've got blank pages, but then if you want more, you've restricted yourself again. So the only way for me, I personally feel having everything all together in one book is having 2 books. And by that, bear with me because that sounds bonkers, I know, but by that I mean using a notebook and having your weekly spread, then your journaling pages, and then having another weekly spread for your planning and your journal pages. But so having that in place, but also having alongside that a diary, whatever that diary may be, using a planner and having this for forward planning and being able to. So I've got in here, I've got all the way up until the end of the year in here with all like dates and things. So using this for forward planning, so marking any dates in there that you know are going to come up in the future, but using your one book or whatever at the time. So I would see, for me going forward, if I wanted to do a one book, having this, writing future things in there, and then on the week that I'm actually using, transcribing some of this information in here over to here, that way. Does that make sense? I don't know. I'm struggling today. I know what I want to say and I'm really struggling with it. So if you're watching this being like really confused, I don't blame you because I'm confused myself. But that's just, it's just getting things right in your head, isn't it? Because everyone has a different way and a different system, and what works for you would not work for someone else, and vice versa. So yeah, it's getting everything right in your head. But for me, that's how I would see a future one book working, is using the one book, whatever that one book may be at the time, for putting everything in together, my planning, my meals, my journaling, everything like that, but then having another book with my forward planning in it that I can then bring forward to the week or the day that I'm currently in. And that is what I've been struggling with my one book July, is my forward planning. And on that vein, on that thought, what I'm really missing about my current one book July, using the happiness planner, is that it's a day per page and there is not a weekly spread on there, and I'm really struggling with that. It's confirmed to me, and I've never used a monthly spread ever, other than since I got my Colour Crush planner and there was a monthly spread already in there. I now use the monthly spread for blog posts and YouTube videos. In terms of other planning, I don't personally have need for a monthly spread, so that's never been a problem. But I'm really missing a weekly spread. How my planning was working prior to One Book July is that I would have my weekly spread like such and such, with kind of like my appointments and things that I knew that I had to do on a specific day in there. And then every morning I would take a list pad. I'm a big list pad user, which you guys probably know. Every morning I would sit and I would write a to-do list out, which I am still doing. To be fair, I am still doing that every morning in here. I am writing a to-do list down, but I would write a to-do list down, and that would cover stupid things that people find bizarre. Like, I always put on there, make the bed, clean the girls out. Even though I do those on a daily basis anyway, I still like to have them on my list so I can still see what I've got going on that day. So yeah, I would take a to-do list pad or whatever, and I would write down everything that I've got going on that day, and basically that would be what I would use for that day. And then when that day was done, it would go. The next day I would maybe move things over from that list onto a new list, and then start again. And that was just my way of starting each day with a clean slate and working out what I was going to do for that day. Whereas when using this, my to-do list has been here in my book, and there has been some days where the same tasks have been moved from day to day to day to day. Because once a day's gone, I don't tend to go back to it. You know, it's clipped together to keep the pages together. And I haven't been going back to it, so I've kind of felt bad. In some ways it's made me do those tasks. I'm like, wow, I've had 3 days where I haven't done that task. But yeah, I really enjoy using the to-do list pad and just kind of starting a clean slate every single day. So yeah, I have really struggled with the whole not having a weekly layout, because I kind of look at my week, and when I'm flipping through I go, oh it's only 2 weeks until such and such, right, I need to do this. Oh, it's only 3 weeks till such and such. Whereas having the day per page, I don't really feel like you have that, because I have to go like 7 times before I get to the week. So a couple of things have snuck up on me because I haven't had the weekly view. So that is one thing I know that I really need going forward. So that's one thing. What else did I want to say this week about One Book July? Yeah, so I'm missing my forward planning, and I'm missing my week at a glance. One of the things that I've sort of found about is like my file of facts that I've showed you, and like my diary. I am like and probably this is probably quite sexist and being a bit gendery, but I'm pretty sure that you won't be offended by this, because I'm pretty sure this happens in most families, that I am kind of the diary keeper for our family. And by our family I mean like John and myself and my fur babies. And I've always encouraged John to use the diary. He is loving One Book July, by the way, because he knows about One Book July. And in fact, the other day I asked him to pass my diary, and I said, oh, it's the mint one with happiness planner on it. And he turned around to me and went, I know, it's One Book July. And I just looked at him and I was like, okay, he really gets it. And he does, because he was often, when I used to say to him, like, you know, if we sat down at the breakfast bar together talking about what we've got going on or something, I'd be like, oh, could you pass the diary? Or could you pass my file of facts? And he would just look at me and be like, which one? Because there was often more than one on the side. So he really is behind One Book July. He is getting the whole concept. But yeah, so I've always encouraged him to go to my diary and to look at what's going on and to write anything in there, like if he's going out or if he's got plans, there's something he needs to remember to do, an MOT on the car, something like that. I've always really encouraged him to go to my diary, my file of facts, my planner, and to write that in. That's great, you know, because he needs to feel empowered as well. It's his life. But I'm kind of like the master diary keeper, and he'll often, you know, like if he's at work or something and someone said, oh, do you want to do this, he'll often text me or something and say, am I free on, or are we free on such and such a date, you know, that kind of thing. So that's great, and I'm always going to empower and encourage him to do that. The only thing is, with a one book, I am using this for journaling as well, and I have kind of been a little bit restrictive. I've held back a little bit on my journaling. It's been very kind of bland stuff, and the reason being is I don't necessarily feel like I want to write really personal stuff in my book that John's going to be using as well. And he's really respectful. We're respectful of each other. He's a journal keeper as well. We are respectful of each other's journals and stuff. I don't ever hide my journal away because I know that he just doesn't read it. He just doesn't read it, and I don't read his. And I've been tempted, but I've never done it. I respect his privacy, and because I'm a journaler and I know what goes in there, I know that he needs his place for his voice. So I've been holding back a little bit because I don't necessarily want my planning and my journaling together, because I don't necessarily want him to read what was going on in my head that day or how I was feeling. So that's kind of restricting some of my journaling, as is the space. Some days I want to journal loads and I haven't got space. Some days I don't journal at all and then I'm left with loads of white space. So that's kind of how that's going. The other thing about journaling is, because I use a different journal, like I usually use like I have like my Fobonichi and my art journal, and so my art journal is mainly painting, my Fobonichi is mainly just doodles, I have another journal which is just reams and reams of just writing, and they're totally separate from my planner. The thing with having the two together is I'm struggling to know what to journal about because it's next to the page of what I've done that day. It's kind of, so like in my Fobonichi, I kind of record what I did, like I made the bed, I cooked dinner, I did this, da 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 dee. Whereas in here, I don't feel like, what's the point in recording that when you can see right next to it what I did? What's the point, you know? So that's those notes that I've got in there. My other notes, have I got an address on here? My other notes, basically I haven't really worried about my pen. The whole one pen thing has not bothered me whatsoever. And that's pretty much it. I've written something here but I can't remember what that was about. I like books but can't focus. I think that refers to sometimes I struggle to focus using multiple books because I'm like, ooh, which one should I use? I think that's what I meant, but I can't remember. So this is the downside of not doing bits as and when you think of it throughout the week. So there we go. Saving it all up for one hit is a bit difficult sometimes, but yeah, so that's kind of where I'm at this week. I've gone up and down this week. At one point I thought like giving it up, and another point I was like, no, this has been really useful. I now know that you know, and that was kind of what, when Romany set it, she was kind of like taking you back to the bare bones of your planning, so you can see what you actually need and what works for you, and then go from there. So that's worked. I actually can't wait for August now. I know you shouldn't wish your life away, but I'm going to stick with One Book July for now, see how it goes. You know, it is useful, as I said, to kind of go back so you can know, you know what you actually need and can't do without. In August my planning setup's going to change a bit. As you know, I now sell the Bando and the Kate Spade range, and when the planners came in, oh my god, I fell in love with them instantaneously. So I knew that I wanted to keep them. So I kept a Floribunda from the Bando range for myself. This I'm going to be using for I want to say a little bit of memory keeping as well, but mainly this is going to be the family planner, the family organiser, the family diary, and it's what, you know, what I'm gonna be using mainly. It's nice and big. Part of me keeps thinking about maybe using it for memory keeping. I'm not sure. I haven't decided. It's one of those things where I know I want to use it because it's absolutely beautiful and I love it. I love that it's spiral bound and just will lay flat, and oh, I just really love it. It is quite big and quite heavy. It's bigger than an A5, but I really want to use it. I do love that. And I'm also going to be using one of the Kate Spade agendas. I have decided that I need to separate more personal and family and work and hobby to a certain extent, because I'm not a professional YouTuber or blogger. I am a hobbyist. I do it because I enjoy it. But my brain, the way it works sometimes, is I can't shut off sometimes. Most of the time. A lot of the time. Which is why I have to force myself to do yoga and meditation a lot of the time. My brain is constantly on overdrive, and I'm constantly thinking of new ideas and content and that kind of stuff. And I've also got work. And so I want to separate my blog and YouTube and my work out from my personal and family life, so that I can start to try and have more rest time, because I haven't been having as much rest time and relaxation time as I should, and I've had periods where I felt a bit burnt out, and I want to kind of be mindful of that going forward. So I'm hoping to kind of split things out, and I'm using the gold dots because my branding on my website is gold dots. I used some glitter that I photographed and made them into dots, and so I thought that would be quite good because there's a separation. I will probably still, every morning I should probably look at both planners, but by having them separated it means that I can, like at the weekend or something, I can kind of not schedule work stuff in, and I can just pick up my Floribunda and be like, oh, it's personal stuff, home stuff, that kind of thing. So that's what I'm thinking, is of separating the two out to make it a bit easier. I will still obviously have my Christmas planner dedicated for Christmas planning, because that worked really well last year and I don't want to kind of mess with that. But in that planner was, if you've watched my Christmas series, it's all like meal planning and gift buying and stuff. There wasn't a diary in there per se, it was all kind of all that. And you know, some of the meals that we have at Christmas we have every year, so I'm storing my recipes and stuff in there. I shall still have my pink domino for the Brimbles boxes, because in there has got all the monthly themes and the suppliers I'm working with and all of that kind of stuff in there. I shall still be using my fluffy facts, because that's got all the health and care information for my fur babies. And I shall probably still be using a small planner, great for going out and about. And as you know, I'm on the Webster's Pages Colour Crush design team, so I do have design team obligations as well, so I'll still be using that. But that's kind of what I'm thinking at the moment. So One Book July has kind of taught me quite a bit about myself, which, as I've said, was the point of One Book July. So there we go. That's how I'm feeling this week. We're now going forth into a brand new week, so we shall see how I fare and how I go. If I remember this week, I'll try and pick the camera up as and when I think of something that I want to say, rather than writing it down and having to record it all, because you guys seem to really like the kind of the little mini vlogs each day strung together, so I'll try and remember to do that. But I can't make any promises, because who knows what this week is going to hold in store. I don't really know. I haven't even really thought about it. Oh gosh, I'm still recovering. I had a really bad night last night, Stevie. I've been bitten all over. Oh my god, something bit me in the night and it had a right old feast on my neck. So I've had antihistamine tablets and I need to put some cream on it. So I'm a bit kind of like this morning. Yeah, that's my One Book July. I hope yours is going well. And I shall be going over and checking out everybody else's videos.